Before telling you what happened to Yeti Airlines Flight 691, let's watch some heartbreaking videos.
A video of a flight attendant who died on January 15 has gone viral. The video was shot moments before the plane crash in Nepal's Pokhara. In the video, flight attendant can be seen smiling inside the aircraft. She has been identified as Oshin Ale.
On January 15, 2023, Yeti Airlines Flight 691 from Kathmandu to Pokhara crashed. The viral video showed the aircraft veering sharply to the left. Tragically, none of the 68 passengers and 4 crew members survived the attempted landing in Pokhara. Now the Nepal government has released the final report on the aircraft in peril. The accident was attributed to a very minor mistake. However, the failure to recognize the mistake and the lack of time for the aircraft to recover were significant contributing factors as well. How did this accident happen? January 15th, 2023. An ATR 72-500 aircraft is preparing to depart from Kathmandu to Pokhara. This marks the third leg of the aircraft's journey, with the previous 2 sectors operated by the crew without any issues. There are 2 pilots in this aircraft, both with unique specialties. Senior Captain Kamal KC serves as the aircraft's commander and also holds the role of an instructor pilot. In addition to monitoring, he also checks the other crew members. Captain Anju, who is flying the aircraft on that day, obtained her commercial pilot license, CPL, in 2017. Unfortunately, her husband, who was also a pilot, passed away in a Nepalese accident. With a total flying time of 6,396 hours, Captain Anju has extensive experience. However, her specific experience with the ATR aircraft is limited, with only 186 hours of flying time logged on this type. This flight also serves as a command check flight, indicating that upon successful completion, she will be promoted to the rank of commander. Senior Captain Kamal KC is undergoing his command check. He is guiding Captain Anju while also communicating with the aircraft. Captain Anju occupies the commander's seat, while Captain Kamal KC is seated in the first officer's seat. As mentioned earlier, the aircraft is an ATR 500 model. Built in 2007, it was initially operated by Kingfisher Airlines. Kingfisher Airlines acquired and began operating this aircraft in 2007. Subsequently, it was utilized by low-cost carriers in Thailand, namely No-K Air, before being acquired by Yeti Airlines in 2019. Despite its age, the aircraft did not encounter any technical issues. Additionally, its weight remained within the permissible limits according to the load entry. Kathmandu Airport is located in a mountainous. It has 2 runways, 02 and 20. The weather conditions for departure were favorable. The aircraft carried 68 passengers, 3 of whom were infants. Yeti Airlines departed from Kathmandu, and the takeoff, climb, and cruise phases of the flight proceeded normally. The flight duration to Pokhara was 25 minutes, with favorable weather conditions upon arrival. Upon approaching Pokhara Airport, the aircraft began its descent. The airport features 2 runways, Runway 30 and Runway 12. Runway 30, known for its straight approach, is commonly utilized by pilots for landing and was initially designated for air traffic control landings. Since this was a training flight, Captain Kamal decided to land on runway 12. One reason was to instruct Captain Anju on the visual approach procedure for runway 12. Landing on runway 12 requires a sharp turn, which is not an approved procedure by Yeti Airlines. Yeti Airlines has never authorized any approach for landing on this runway, and yet Captain Kamal requested runway 12 for landing when the aircraft was flying at 6,500 feet, and the air traffic control approved the request. The aircraft commenced its descent towards runway 12, and air traffic control visually confirmed its position. During the landing briefing, Captain Kamal discussed the approach procedure for runway 12 with Captain Anju, ensuring she was fully briefed. After setting the flaps to 15 degrees and extending the landing lever, Captain Anju disengaged the autopilot to manually control the aircraft. At 721 feet, Captain Anju called out for flaps 30, indicating the next step in the landing procedure. However, Captain Kamal, monitoring from the first officer's seat, was responsible for adjusting the flap settings. Although Captain Kamal acknowledged the call-out for flaps 30 as appropriate for descent, he confirmed that flaps 30 was set, but he did not adjust the flap settings accordingly. Instead, Captain Kamal made another significant mistake by activating the condition lever of the aircraft. If you look at the center of the cockpit of the ATR, you can see 3 levers. The first lever on the side of the first officer is the flap settings lever, which Captain Kamal needed to adjust. Next to it is the control lever, also known as the condition lever, responsible for controlling the fuel function of the aircraft. Finally, next to the control lever is the power lever, followed by the parking brake lever. Instead of changing flaps 30, Captain Kamal moved the condition lever down. This action shifted the propeller of the aircraft to feather mode, rendering it unable to generate the necessary thrust for flight. Consequently, the rotation speed of both propellers decreased rapidly. At the time, neither of the pilots comprehended the error. After a few seconds, a master chime sounded inside the cockpit. Despite this alert, both pilots remained unaware of Captain Kamal's mistake. The aircraft continued its descent and approached the runway. As it reached about 500 feet, the aircraft started veering to the left. Captain Anju, seated in the captain's seat, quickly realized that the aircraft lacked the necessary power. She promptly informed Captain Kamal, who instructed her to increase power. However, even with maximum power applied by Captain Anju, the aircraft failed to respond adequately. Both propellers were unable to generate sufficient thrust for the aircraft. In response, Captain Kamal set flaps 30. Shortly after, Captain Kamal assumed control from Captain Anju, but he too struggled to increase the aircraft's power. Unaware of the mistake he had made, Captain Kamal was unable to rectify the situation. As the aircraft descended to about 301 feet, the stick shaker activated, warning of an imminent stall. The aircraft, veering to the left, crashed within seconds, resulting in a complete fire engulfment. Tragically, all 68 passengers and 4 crew on board lost their lives. The captain remained unaware of the mistake he had made, and the high workload and stress in the cockpit contributed to the accident. Captain Kamal, while monitoring from the first officer's seat, provided necessary guidance and instructions to Captain Anju, which kept him occupied. Additionally, runway 12 requires extensive guidance, especially during command checks. Even air traffic control was perplexed by the request for this runway, especially after offering runway 30, and Captain Kamal's workload hindered his ability to fulfill his duties effectively. Moreover, Captain Kamal took control at the last minute. Despite Captain Kamal's request for a runway 12 landing to enhance Captain Anju's proficiency, the outcome was disastrous. Despite being a senior instructor, Captain Kamal had only landed on runway 12 twice before. As previously mentioned, The aircraft did not experience any technical issues and had a stellar maintenance record. It was a modern aircraft with all maintenance up to date. The weather conditions were also favorable at the time. Despite these favorable conditions, a small mistake in the cockpit led to the tragedy of Yeti Airlines Flight 691.